hold right there. Stop. Before you bring me down your hundreds to thousands of dollars just making some couch cushions for you for your house, just for you to sit on, please take my advice. Just go through this process. I want to show you how to do it by yourself. Just learn about these alignment marks, learn about numbering, learn how to feed it through the machine. Watch this video. You know, it's upholstery is labor intensive and it costs a lot of money to do. Before you bring me down all your hundreds, thousands of dollars, let's see if we can train you up to do it by yourself, because I want to do my own projects someday, but I can't right now because I want to train you guys. I need to get you guys trained so you can work on your own projects first. Now, and if this doesn't work for you, come down, I'll do a really nice job for you. You know, you'll see as you're going through this video, just watch, stay tuned, watch how I feed the fabric through the machine, see how I'm cutting out leather. We've got a lot of tips and tricks that you can use, and you know what, you can do this by yourself. If you want to make a couch cushion out of your own fabric and you don't want to come down to my shop and give me hundreds of dollars just to make a couch cushion, you know, watch this video and learn how to do it on your own. It's really quite fun to do. I love doing upholstery, and the home interior is a lot more forgiving than automotive. We will go into automotive extremely a lot, and you'll see just how more intense that level is of doing. But anyways, all this home furniture stuff and just couch cushions, I mean, super fun, super easy to do. I'm not saying that it's quick to do it. It's still labor intensive, and that's why it's expensive. So follow the steps and enjoy it, have fun. Upholstery is really expensive. It really is. The labor makes the bill really high, and people really don't understand how much time goes into each little individual piece. And I want to show you the process here, and I want to challenge you to work on your own stuff before you take it to the upholstery shop. All right, we're making doubles of all these pieces. I mean, not the white ones, we're reusing those, but this assembly is all unstitched already. You can see our alignment marks. You can see where we have our seam, alignment mark, seam. Even right here where you want to start on your edge, right there, put like edge, ED or GE, whatever. And anyways, so this is all unstitched. As far as those go, we still have to unstitch these. So we're just gonna unstitch the rest. We make double of all the brown pieces. We're gonna sew it all together. All right, we got one pillow made. Some nice folds on it. This is what the pillow looks like when it's turned inside out. Obviously, you want it turned inside out before you start making your markings. You can see our markings are here. And we followed them as we put them together. We had our pieces all numbered out, so we knew what order they went in. Now this is 14 as an assembly. So that's probably going to go with a few more pieces sewn together right here. And so this is 21, but it's a 13B as an assembly. But this piece right here by itself is 21, 20, 19, all right, let's keep going and building this. Let's unstitch this one. Let's just say you want to make a pillow right here. Let's make a pillow. Let's see what it takes to do a pillow. Alright, here we are. Let's do this pillow right here. Let's build this pillow. Let's put some folds in it. You're gonna do this by yourself. You're not gonna go to the expensive upholstery shop and spend thousands of dollars because you don't have it. So let's do this yourself, DIY. Stupid zipper wants to be stuck, of course. I'm trying to do a video here. Paint cotton in there. There we go. Alright, let's pull the pillow out. If you got a number, your pillow, you know, this is what? 13 B's in assembly. Okay, let's just put 13B on here in case you work with multiple pillows. Alright, let's turn this inside out. You gotta turn your cover inside out. You gotta find out what the last stitch line was. What's the last one? Well, let's see here. This last stitch line happens to be on the outside. So this is the last stitch line. This edge was put together after it's all sewn up. There's this back stitching coming here at the razor blade, or however you're going to cut it. Get that back stitching undone, get it started. Now there's a couple different ways. You can either come here, cut a stitch, move about an inch, cut another stitch, move about an inch, cut another stitch. And then on the other side, you can just grab this string right here and just keep pulling. It's a really clean way. I like doing it that way, where you can come in here and cut threads, pull it, cut threads, pull it. So about an inch. I'm cutting on this side because I'm not going to reuse this, but I am going to reuse this, so I don't want to cut that. Threads are easier to clean up too if you do it this way. So that's the last one. Before you pull it apart, I was showing you that you can mark these A on this side and A on this side, because that's A. That's your, and you're gonna start A and A, and this is gonna be your last line you sew, and you sew that together. So that's A. So there's letters and numbers. Where would B be? Where would B be? B, we're going to go with our second to last stitch line. And the way it looks like we've went all the way across this edge and finished it right here. So we finished it right here, and we want to start this seam again. We're going to go right here. We're going to go B and B. So now when I know when I'm going to start this again, I'm going BB, and I'm going to go, there's that cotton that was in my zipper, and this is C and C. Right. Before we unstitch this, we want some alignment marks in here. Alright, we got our A done. We already had alignment marks in it because it was an assembly. It got sewn together with a bunch of pieces. Alignment marks are already there. So we're going to make more alignment marks. We're going to put one here. We're going to mark this where the zipper is. The Z for zipper. Make another alignment mark. Another alignment mark. This is a seam right here. So we're going to come right here and put an S for seam. Can make an alignment mark right here. These folds you can mark if you want, but we just measure it out with a presser foot, so we're not going to do that. So now we can transfer to the other side and put alignment marks. Try to make my alignment marks different on one side to the other. I got 3 over here, 2 over here, so it's easier to distinguish them when I'm sewing them together. Here's a seam. This is the B. More to see. sure not to run the zipper off the end. So that's no fun trying to get that back on there. Now we want to mark this as a D. I'm going to start up here. D. Now we have them apart. Now we got to go cut out the pieces, transfer them over, cut them out, transfer over alignment marks. That way we can sew the zipper back on it and sew it the exact same way that we took it apart, just backwards. So everything that I take apart, whether I'm taking apart cars or I'm taking apart these pieces, I number them. You can see the numbers on here. 15, 16, 17, 18. I've got these alignment marks right here. These alignment marks are really what lines up your material as you're sewing it together. Without these, the material, when you get through sewing, doesn't line up very well. I've got an S right here for a seam. I got a Z right here for a zipper. I got another seam up here. This 14B as an assembly comes off in like one pillow. That has just like one pillow like this. This is a whole assembly. So I mark that as a number, as an assembly. I mark it as an assembly. And I put an A and a B here. There's going to be multiple parts going together. So first process, when you're taking things apart, y'all want to go over these alignment marks right here. Say this is your piece right here, and this is what you're going to rebuild. Okay, so I have, let's say, okay, say this is your assembly. This is what you're going to be building. You want to start with it 1, obviously. So you're going to be come down here and you're marking your first piece. And you want to check on the seams. That's the first piece, that's the last piece that you put on. Because as your sew lines are, as you're putting them together, that's the last piece you put on. So that's number 1. This could be number 2. This could be number 3. Obviously 4 together. You know, this could be as an assembly. Anyways, these are what's really important right here, these alignment marks. And you know, I like to do like 2 alignment marks, and then 1 alignment mark, and then 2 alignment marks, and then transfer over to the other side and do total opposite. So now I have 1 alignment mark, 2 alignment marks, 1 alignment mark. So now you unstitch these, and you're going to be sewing it back together. I'll show you how to run your edge of your fabric right through your sewing machine and line those alignment marks up. If you follow these steps, it's super easy. And you'll be able to build this. I'm going to show you how to do these nice folds. See these folds right there? This is another pillow. This is what we're remaking. You can see I have them numbered. So anyways, let's start piecing this together. Let's go to the sewing machine and give you more education about how we use our sewing machine. Patterning out leather right now. Sorry, my voice. I have not got it back since COVID. Got COVID and I lost my voice. Anyways, when you're working with leather, it does take longer to pattern out because you only have a certain amount of a cowhide that you're working with, and each little tiny piece needs to be set out across the whole hide, or you can't be wasting any material. Fit some vinyls, they're not as expensive. When it comes to leather, it's very expensive, so you want to use up every little piece of your leather as best as you can without wasting any of it. So double, triple check, make sure that you've got enough hide to finish your job, and make sure that you're not wasting a big chunk of material. So anyways, we're making 2 of these because we have 2 recliners. So we're going to pattern out and make 2 of these pillows. We just unstitched this, and now we're making the leather pieces for it so we can sew it back together. You want to use chalk. Really, I'm using magic marker right now on the leather. I don't feel like it's going to bleed through. If it does, then down the road I'll have to redo everything. So I don't really recommend using a magic marker. Use chalk. You can mark up your leather too and put marks in it you really don't want. So I went around the border, transferring over these alignment marks that we have. That shows us how to line it up and sew. There's another one. We got to transfer over any lettering, like this D right here. That D is in sequence of sewing it together. Use your weights. Now we'll just cut that out. And instead of using this again, I like to cut this out and use this piece to make another one, because it's a lot easier to trace around this line. This home furnishing, I tend to cut it faster, try to sew it faster, because it's not like automotive. These home furnishing, kind of loose fitting, you kind of sew them a little faster. When you go into automotive, you got to make sure you have really nice, fine, crisp lines. You got to make sure you're cutting right on the line, because those covers are pulled really tight. And if you get any type of really wobble in your line, it shows. with home furnishing, we can move a little faster to try to save some time. This end right here, it has a fold. I'm not going to be able to use really this much unless I have a little small piece this big. Right here I know I have a piece that'll fit right here that I can use, so I'll get a good chunk, a proportion of that being used. So now you want to we're making 2 of them. Move this around, and this is what takes more time. You want to make sure that you're getting the best use out of your leather as you can, because I'll show you why I don't like this area. I have a lot of this that I could probably use. I've got this area that I could use in this area, so I've got this, all this that gets kind of cut out if I try to cut it, but I really can't use much of. You know, it's a pretty good place for that. I can still kind of use that, but I'm going to move it up this part of the hide and try to follow this line and move it up really close. See if I can get a better cut out of it over there. Get better use out of the leather. And this is, it does save you money on leather. So take your time and make sure you're making the right cuts. You gotta watch your folds. You gotta watch, flip your leather over, make sure there's no cracks and holes and stuff from stretching out the hide. And I'll see if I put this out to here, you know, I've got a really good use of this whole section right here. A lot better use than if I would have had it down more. So we're gonna use it, this one. We're gonna cut it out right here because it makes more sense to cut it out right there. On your fabric, you want to push it out, try to center laid out and move it out to the ends. When you're marking it, you want to make sure that it's really exact. And this is why I like to use the leather template, because I don't have to push any seams down. I can really lightly just go across here and pattern this out a lot faster. Save my customers some time. Labor is expensive and upholstery is time consuming. We've got these little tiny pieces that we have to make. As you're pulling these little scraps out, keep them because these little tiny pieces you can get some use out of. This really isn't too much of a waste. It's the very edge of the leather. You can see it has imperfections, quite a bit of wrinkles and folds. I didn't get the leather print on through the machine, so we've got other scraps. That I have saved. I will get a use out of. A lot of these are just like the same pieces I had before. Got to make double pieces here. See, this is a hole that they use to stretch the hide. And this is why leather takes a little bit longer. So you can't just throw it up and start tracing them out and cutting them. You gotta make sure you're not wasting. Get some weights to hold your material down. These are my dolly, hammer and dolly sets for auto body. Working out metal. I'm going to make 2 of these. We're making 2 recliners. So I've got to make double pillows as I go. Through here's a seam. S for seam. And here is a Z for zipper. And a B in order, alphabetical order, the way that it goes on. There's also numbers that you can use. Make sure you're following them. See how much of this leather I'm using. Going to continue like that, get our pieces cut out, and we'll come back to sew together this pillow. These little alignment marks that you've made, get your scissors out and you just barely cut the tip of it off. So you have a little bit of alignment mark on there that you can follow. Because when you're sewing this together, you're actually going to be having it on this side where your alignment marks aren't showing. You can see here I have my alignment mark on my leather. These are leather recliners that we're doing. I'm going to be lining up that mark with that. Those are my alignment marks. That's what keeps all my material even when I'm sewing. Make sure you're putting the outside of the fabric face to face. See how I have this alignment mark? I'm going to keep that. I'm going to bring it all the way out here to my end. I'm going to put my presser foot down. You're going to want to hold your strings back like this. Now, the edge of your material, sorry about my voice, I just went through COVID. On my presser foot, I put the edge of my material right on the edge, this outside of the edge, and that's what I follow. And that is equivalent to 3/8 seam allowance. When you first start sewing, you gotta hold your threads back so they don't bundle up in your machine. And you want to do a couple stitches in on your seam allowance, and then you want, oops, sorry. And then you want to put, see how I'm going to be going backwards? And then you go back stitch it twice, and then come back forward. And I use a heavy thread, especially on leather, because you want your thread to be as tough as your leather, because your leather is a really nice material. And you can put a lot of pressure. So, see, I can either sew stitch by stitch. What I'm doing here with my foot, I'm just pressing it down, letting off, just quick. I suggest doing this. You can see the edge of my material is going right on the edge. On my presser foot, do your measurements. You want to be at 3/8 seam allowance, unless it's like a headrest, then you do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You know, on all these new when I've been unstitching, when I've been unstitching these, I've noticed that the seam allowance is always really short, and the stitch width right here, you want 3/16 stitch width. So measure your stitches, put it on your dial. I have mine marked right here. 3/16 stitch width. Camera's not going to focus on it. 3/16. So as I'm moving through here, I'm just grabbing my alignment marks, and you can have these as close as you want them. You can have them every inch, you can have every 2 inches, 3 inches. I have these ones spread apart pretty far. But as you come through here, I'll show you. See how I've been holding this alignment mark together just like this. Holding my fabric, holding my alignment mark, making sure that it's feeding through my machine. Sometimes you have to grab your fabric and roll it up here and tighten it up. And you don't want to pull towards you. You really kind of want to put some pressure away from you. You want it to slide through the machine. You don't want to be pulling back towards you, because then your stitch width will ball up, and so sometimes your material will grab down here, and that's why I get underneath it and lift it up so it can feed through the machine a lot better. You can keep doing your foot movement like that, one stitch at a time. I like doing that. It's really accurate and your quality is really high, because you can keep both your material together really well. You can try this at home before you go and spend your thousands of dollars at the upholstery place. If you follow these simple instructions, you'll see that you can do this by yourself. A little bit of practice, and just keep watching this video over and over and over again. I would take a piece apart and build it. Okay, so now I'm at the end. I'm at the end right here. My material. Now I want to back stitch it. Every time you start and stop, you want to back stitch two stitches. And really you're just keeping your back stitch inside your seam allowance around your borders, so you don't want double stitching outside of it, because then it can show. So anyways, so now when you're done here, what you're gonna do, you have to pull this out, and sometimes you're gonna have to move your needle up and down with your hand control knob right there, like this, to get your red pop out to finish the stitch. You want to pull it back, get your scissors, trim it off. Trim off your other excess on your other side, throw it in the garbage. So now you have really nice, perfect seam allowance. And the reason why you want a seam allowance like that, you always want to do a test panel. This is my test panel. I measured my stitches in between, made sure they were 3/16. Pulled them apart to make sure that the thread is tying in between each layer correctly. So anyways, I'm just gonna continue sewing these pieces together You can watch as I do it. I've got this piece now, number 15. I've got my alignment marks out. And this is how I check. Obviously this is the back side of my project. I already sewn that one. You see these alignment marks right here. That dot and line, that dot and line. Alright. I'm not going to be able to see those on your side, so notch this out just a little bit. You don't want to notch it very much. You don't want it to go into past your seam allowance, because then you'll have a hole. So you're notching this out the very corner to the very tip. Now I'm just showing you this. Normally I wouldn't take the time to notch this, because as I'm sewing it together, I can actually look underneath. This is another little trick that you can do. Say I'm sewing this side. I don't have any alignment marks. But I don't have them notched out, but they're underneath. So what I'll do is I'll line up my material and I'll just keep looking underneath and holding my material on the top and that at the same time, and keep sewing. Go a little bit, find another alignment mark, pinch it together, sew it through. But we're gonna stay with the notching it out right now, so you can follow it and see what we're doing. A lot of times you start, you want your press your foot right at the edge of your material like that. See, it's right at the edge. You want to hold that down, bring your presser foot back up, and then you want to bring your material into this. This is a lot easier to do it this way. See my two alignment marks? Sorry, I keep tapping the screen to make sure you guys can see this really well. So now, I'm going to hold your strings back, put your presser foot down. I normally reach inside here and hold my strings back, but you can't see me start this, so I'm going to hold it on the back side. And it really only takes a couple times really for your strings to ball up enough where it won't get tangled up, and then you can let go of your strings. Back stitch, come back, now you're ready to sew. I'm telling you, it's really hard to sell. It's really hard to sell projects. Each little piece takes a certain amount of time to go through it if it goes right. And when you're trying to charge your customers for the work that you do, and these are handmade crafted covers, it's I'm not a machine. I'm human. Just like this. See my seam allowance? I got it really tight. I didn't have it on the edge. I was talking. I wasn't really paying attention. That's okay. I'll show you how to go back and fix that. After we're done, it's super simple. It's easy. So anyways. Oh, my alarm clock's going off. I came down here early because I'm trying to get these recliners out for the customer for the weekend. I don't know if you can hear my music in the background, but it's really old country from the 40s. I'm 36, and the reason why I like to listen to that stuff is because it reminds me of my grandpa and my father. My father trained me how to do paint and body. I've worked with them. I worked with my grandpa a lot. My grandpa's always listening to this. My dad's always listening to this. It's a big reason why my company's named Black Stash, because big old stash reminds me of my dad and my grandpa. Really kind of both my grandpas. So that's the significance of that. If you're wondering why it's Black Stash, well, my family's always had black stashes, and my beard's going red, so I have to dye my stash gold black if I want to be part of the Black Stash group. And so right here, your material can move back and forth. I mean, it helps if you only do a little bit at a time. You can ball your material up like this and hold it together really nice and tight. And you just really want to press it through the machine. Let it feed itself. You don't want to pull towards you. I don't mind messing up because I know you guys are going to be messing up what you're sewing, and I want to show you how to just go back and fix it. I want you to work like a pro. Back stitch this. Oh, sorry. See how it went off? Just start at the end here again. Keep your seam allowance down here, back stitch it down here, and you're fixed. You can always double stitch things. This means it's going to be stronger if you got two seams in it, or two stitch lines. The reason why you back stitch is because it ties down your thread so it doesn't unravel. So that just made my line a lot straighter. So I had to move that needle to get it to pull out of there. See how I fixed it now straight? That's a quick little fix for you. Alright. Let's continue sewing. Can't wait to get to show you how I do my folds. Those are really interesting. In fact, we're there right now, so let's show you how to do some cool folds when you're working with your sofas and your home furniture. You don't really see it in automotive. You know, automotive sewing is a lot more tedious. You have to have your material cut with the perfect lines. You got to line them up perfectly as you go, or else it shows. This automotive stuff is a tighter fitting. It's tighter fitting. So, all right. See if this will focus here. All right. Well, we got to find the right piece here. We got a zipper here. Seams are going that way, so that's not the right piece. Zipper here. Seam there. Alignment marks. Another seam. You know, you got to find out where to start from. You know, if you got to know where to start from, I actually got taught a way, and they use alphabetical order. And I decided to go off these alignment marks, were easier for me to start from. But if you want to know a starting point, you can put like an A here and an A here for your beginning. Your next one that you go through, you want to put like a B and a B, and the next one a C and a C, and then you're doing the alphabetical way, counting or going backwards. And there's just a lot of letters on there, and when you're transferring them over, sometimes it's kind of difficult to figure out